Thank you all so much for joining. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you all coming in as you file in. Let's see, we've got a chat feature, and my guests here today. Feel free to chime in the chat too if you can. Let us know the first concert you ever went to. We're always curious to. This is a kind of go-to question for us. We're always curious to hear what people's first concerts or music shows were. And let us know where you're calling in from too. So just to kind of get the conversation started in the chat, pop in. Ooh, Bare Naked Ladies. David, love that. That's great. Canadian band for a Canadian person. So it makes sense. Uh, that's awesome. Lana Del Rey. It's one of my wife's favorites. Love that. Um, she's awesome. Mine was uh Taking Back Sunday and Saves the Day, which are two early aughts, late 90s kind of emo bands that I'm sure have limited appeal. Britney Spears, wow. Wow, two Britney Spears. Two of our guests had Britney Spears for their first concert, so that's pretty incredible. Love that. Um, and let me just get my screen shared here. All right. Okay. All right. So again, feel free to pop in the chat. First concerts, anything like that, where you're calling in from, and we will get this show on the road. We've got a lot of great content for you all today. We've got some great guests here. You can see down at the bottom of this screen. Really excited to chat with them today about how they're using knowledge agents, one of the newer, more complex features in Guru. So today we're going to be unpacking the sort of use cases of knowledge agents and how our real customers are actually using them so far. So,
Hey, Matt,
um,
sorry to interrupt you. It sounds like there's some folks can use its chat and some folks can't. I'm not seeing anything on my side, but I don't know if maybe Hillary is able to do some.
oh, this may be one of those Zoom settings that I didn't configure properly. So my apologies. If you can't use the chat, that's my fault. Don't worry about it. Keep the questions coming in through the Q&A throughout this. So, if we're able to enable the chat at some point during this, we will do our best. But yeah, I think I might have had it disabled for external folks. So my apologies there, but appreciate you all trying to chime in. We'll fix that next time. But yes, if you have questions throughout this, just keep the questions coming in through that Q&A feature that you all have used to let us know that the chat is disabled. So, um, Scott, I'm also sad that you can't share your love for early 2000s emo pop punk. This is my fault. I messed up the chat settings. So, but I would love to hear your first concerts, regardless. But okay, let me introduce myself really quick. My name is Matt Guerin. I've been at Guru for over 6 years now. I'm expert in the Guru product, knowledge management, education. Went to school for, becoming a public educator. But now I do this instead and get to educate you all on all the great things that Guru can do. Based out of Collingswood, New Jersey, which is right outside of our Philadelphia headquarters office. And I like to do these unrelated fun facts. So if you have to leave early, you get at least one fun thing to go. And you're going to learn a little bit about me through these unrelated fun facts. Most of them have been bird related. I'm obviously a big bird fan. But how can ducks and geese swim in near freezing water without losing all of their body heat? They actually use a counter current circulation system where their warm arterial blood flows right next to their cooler blood returning from the toes via their veins, transferring the heat. So there's actual heat transfer occurring within their body to keep their limbs warm and to keep their body temperature from losing any of that heat, which I think is pretty neat. Maybe you don't. You have no chat to let me know if you do or do not find this interesting, but want to give you that fun takeaway either way. All right, let's get into the agenda. I'll give a quick agent overview just to catch everybody up on what an agent is. So if you have zero idea what a knowledge agent is, we'll at least give you some foundation to stand on here before we jump into the actual use case stories here. We'll hear from David at Leap event first, and we'll hear from Olivia from Empathy. Then we'll hear from Kyra at Motion, and then Evan from Favor, who I'll introduce when it's time for their segments. But yeah, we're going to hear all about their agents and how the knowledge agent is helping their teams currently. So these are real customers sharing their real world examples, and really excited for you all to hear their stories. So, but before we hear their stories, let's send out this quick poll. Let us know if you have created a knowledge agent at all. It's good for me to know what the audience makeup is, and for me to know, who's familiar with what a knowledge agent is and who isn't. So a lot of results pouring in already. Looks like most people have not, and there's a lot of folks that are unfamiliar with what a knowledge agent is. So hopefully the overview up at the top that I'll give here in a second will be helpful for you all. Appreciate you filling those polls out so quickly. That's great. And I've got another one coming at you so far. For those of you that have built a knowledge agent, what has your experience been like so far? And feel free to politely tell me that you already made one, or you haven't made one if you haven't made one. But curious to hear from those folks that have been using them, what the experience has been like. So appreciate these results. People, yes, haven't made them, and most folks are having a pretty good experience with it so far. So that's nice to hear. Let's see if we can get everybody to having awesome, they're super helpful type experience through learning about the use cases and stories that we'll share here today. Cool. Let's get into it. So let's start with that knowledge agent overview. So for those of you who have no idea what a knowledge agent is, it's basically a way that you can create a tailored, refined search experience for Guru. So right now, if you haven't built a knowledge agent, you're going into Guru, you're typing a question into that search bar, and Guru is going to look across everything that you have access to as a user in order to come up with a really great answer for you. What agents allows you to do is say, hey, instead of looking at everything that you have access to, I just want to serve this particular use case. So I only want, when you ask a question, I only want it to look at specific sources of information. And I want it to give suggested answers in a specific type of format, or in a specific length, or in a specific tone of voice. So you can design these knowledge agents that are really engineered to help out people in specific circumstances, or to help out specific audiences. So just like a collection, you can make a knowledge agent available to just specific users. So you can have a support team knowledge agent, which is a use case that we'll hear about shortly, in a couple different ways, where it's just designed and just shared with the support team. So only a support team has access to that tailored search experience, and it's only going to look across the resources that are relevant to helping them respond to customers, or handle edge case type scenarios, and maybe it responds in a customer friendly tone of voice, so that your support agents are being helped with giving answers in a shareable external facing kind of way. So that's in a nutshell what knowledge agents can do for you is that it can give that tailored, really expert kind of advice through the suggested answers, based on the sort of settings and prompting that you give it. So it's highly customizable, and it's designed to really serve specific use cases and produce better search results for those needs that you have. One of the great things that it can also do is that they can also automatically reply to questions that are sent in Slack. So if your experts are getting bombarded today, this is a story that we'll hear in a couple different variations today from our real customers. But if your experts are getting bombarded with questions in Slack, you can set up Guru Knowledge Agent in that Slack channel to kind of be that first line of defense, be that sort of almost question deflection internally, where it can automatically respond to those questions being asked in those channels and give really good suggested answers in the manner that you tell it to. So why should you use these knowledge agents? If you're experiencing kind of crowded search results, or you're not seeing the quality of answers, or it's not pulling from the sources that you want it to a lot, you want to improve that search and answer performance. That's a good sign that that it might be time to create a knowledge agent. And then stay tuned for more reasons why you might want to build a knowledge agent and what use cases you may want to build a knowledge agent for. In this screenshot over here, you can see an example of an agent that's an HR buddy. So this is a specific HR agent that's designed to answer questions around benefits, around employee experiences, around perks, and give answers in a really friendly tone of voice, and only look at specific sources. And so it can give that kind of suggested answer like we see here. All right. Let me check the Q&A to see if there's any big questions. Yes, this session will be recorded and it will be shared out after, so don't worry about that. The automatic responses do only applies to Slack currently. Does not include Microsoft Teams at this time. Cool. All right. So let's get to some of our stories today. So I'm gonna invite in David from Leap Event. David, how are you doing today?
Hey, Matt, thank you so much. I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about Leap Event and about your role there, and a little bit more about you here.
Yeah, totally. So my name is David. I'm based in Montreal, Canada. When I'm not writing or managing docs, I'm playing squash, I'm cycling around Montreal, and I'm playing electric guitar. So that's a little bit about me. Now about Leap. Leap is a global event technology solution that helps event organizers turn their events into unforgettable experiences. So Leap offers an all-in-one suite of ticketing, mobile apps, experiential marketing, merchant services, and management tools, along with expert marketing and analytics. And this helps event organizers capture fan engagement and data. So our team spans across the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia. And we serve industries like attractions, music festivals, fandom conventions, sports, and the arts. And some of our clients include the NFL, NBA, Lollapalooza, and Disney. So as a documentation manager at Leap, I oversee our knowledge management strategy, and I make sure our team has access to quick access to accurate information. So really excited to talk about how knowledge agents is helping us get there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool business, really exciting, great list of customers that you have there. So yeah, with that sort of global and multinational sort of scope here, tell us a little bit about some of maybe the challenges that you were experiencing that are maybe related to that, or related to other components of your business that led you to creating a knowledge agent.
Yeah, totally. And before that, I'll kind of talk about how Leap uses Guru. So
Yeah.
really it's our central and our massive internal knowledge base for our entire team. So we house documentation for 10 separate individual products. We have internal operations material, we have SOPs, human resources information, company security policies, and pretty much everything in between. So Guru helps us manage like that single most critical asset of our company, like our entire collective knowledge. So we have a lot of material in Guru, and that kind of showcases kind of how we're using it. Now, one of the challenges we have with documentation and Guru search is basically like ensuring that all of our employees across all US, Canada, Europe, as I mentioned, can quickly find accurate information, up-to-date information, kind of without searching through multiple tools and kind of relying on that tribal knowledge. Our various we have tons of different product based Slack channels, and sometimes they get inundated with repeat questions, and this causes drain on the teams who kind of manage those channels. And sometimes personnel will resort to asking questions in Slack instead of consulting the documentation that we have in Guru. Documentation is extensive. We have a lot of technical manuals and things like that. So when the AI agents became available, we saw an opportunity to reduce the number of repetitive questions in Slack and just improve knowledge retrieval in general. So that's a bit of the challenge that we have. So rolling that out required, some education, some testing of the tool, obviously, and then refining our content to ensure that the AI generated responses were, of course, helpful and aligned with our knowledge governance standards at Leap.
Yeah, totally. And I want to learn more about that testing and training here in a sec. But let's kind of see what some of these results looked like first here, and then we'll dive into some of more of the back end stuff. So talk us through this kind of question here and where this was coming in.
Yeah, totally. So this would be, we have an extensive product where someone will be looking for some deep knowledge on that product, and you can see the question here is being asked in Slack with the generative response. Very detailed. We can see hyperlinks. We can see all the great information that Guru is generating. Of course, the citations are available, and you can see here that the subject matter experts. That is what I was going to say. Guru for the win. So these are common outcomes that we get for these kinds of questions. So this is a prime example of someone getting a pinpoint answer without having to parse through all that documentation.
That's great. And this citation here, do you know if that's a Guru card, or is that maybe a source that's living elsewhere in Jira or something like that?
Yeah, this is a Guru card. Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, love seeing the links in there and love seeing like your experts chiming in that like that's what I was gonna say. And so it's, clearly saving those experts time. And we've got another one here too. Talk to us a little bit about this one here.
Yeah, so here's someone from our operations team looking for client-facing information for some of our hardware. And within one single question, we can see the response has been generated, and we have the actual links to the articles that are available. So someone can quickly and easily find that information with one single question.
That's great. Yeah, I see here the formatting in this one's a little different than the other one. Is that just a result of this specific kind of question, or did you maybe do some tweaking to the custom prompt to have it respond in more kind of bulleted format sort of responses there?
Yeah, I don't think this one is a result of any of the custom prompting. This card is a highly formatted card, and I think it's specifically mentioned that we have different documents for those set up and for troubleshooting. So Guru has done a great job in the Slack integration to kind of present it that way. So works great.
That's nice. Awesome. Are you able to maybe share screen here and show us the sort of back end side of things and sort of how you configured your knowledge agent?
Yeah, I'm super happy to do that. So you should be seeing on your screen now, I have our collections. So just to kind of showcase, we have a lot of different collections at the company, and a lot of that is product information. So there's a lot of extensive technical manuals that are involved in there. So what we've done is in the back end, we've created a large number of agents. Some are specific to the search experience in Guru, the main search. Some are explicitly tied to Slack channels. So that first experience that you saw, or that first example, where someone said, hey, that's what I was going to say. This is our client service team agent. So basically, this is set up to be that one-to-one map to that Slack channel. You can see the client services team are set as the experts, which helps later on in the AI training center piece. But all members of the team can view this agent. The sources is pulling from a large number of different collections that we have. Some of those product collections, some operational collections that house like SOPs, things like that. Sales engineering, some other areas, and even some other Slack channels are also feeding into that as well. So it's a wide array of sources.
Quick question on that. With that number of sources and that many sort of collections filtering in, did you encounter sort of any issues with like conflicting answers or just an overabundance of like information for it to pull from that was maybe making it a little bit harder?
Conflicting answers? No, I don't think so. I think, we sometimes experience questions that are really, really unique and maybe outside of the kind of the scope of some of the things that are documented. So, there are some answers that could be like unique or maybe outside of the realm of the documentation. But no, our collections are designed to be, kind of product centric, and most often the questions are kind of product based. So they generally map one-to-one with each other.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's and kudos for you for having like specific documentation that's going to do well in that regard, because I know sometimes there can be, duplicative content that lives across collections that can, if there's alterations made in one but not in the other, sometimes it can result in some wonky suggested answers, but that's more of a documentation problem. So like you being a knowledge manager is really helpful and keeping the your collections sort of coordinated and the information across them sort of organized. So it's great.
Yeah, and I will say, prior to knowledge agents, we actually had one singular collection. It was called our product documentation, and one collection with a large number of top level folders for each product. Um, we actually broke that out. So we ended up creating individual collections for those products, which you can see here. And that allows us to better map the content explicitly for AI and specifically for answers. And it also helps in the long run with verification scores and just having better data and analytics around that. So it certainly helped us map to the knowledge agents that way. The prompting, there's really not a lot of anything custom in the prompt here. You can see I did include a piece at the end here, but searches for a particular name should also map to another name, just because we sometimes refer to products differently internally. But that the prompt is basically a default from Guru as you see it when you set up the knowledge agent for the first time.
That's awesome. Love that. Didn't have to do much tweaking to the prompt at all. It just kind of worked out of the box for you. So that's really great. And hopefully encouraging to people that haven't set up a knowledge agent yet. You don't have to go crazy with the prompt right away. The default prompt can get you really, really far on its own, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something we're still experimenting with. And I think as we use this tool over time, you'll see those prompts kind of change, and we might kind of get into something more custom, but so far it's working well. Yeah, and really kind of just the Slack channels that that these are tied to. So this one, it again is explicitly a Slack based AI agent, as we are a very Slack heavy company. We're mostly remote. So yeah, that's an example of that one.
That's great.
Do you want me to show another, or?
I think let's just talk about the results here and jump into that part. But really appreciate you sharing the back end here. I think it's really helpful for people to see that in action. And then yes, awesome. Thank you, Hillary, on the back end for helping us out. So yeah, just talk to us a little bit about the outcomes you saw there, David.
Yeah, so the outcomes we're seeing, of course, faster access to information. As you can see here, people are getting immediate responses based on those questions instead of having to, kind of go through the traditional search experience, looking through documentation that way. People are, the use of Guru has gone up exponentially since we've rolled this out. We see so much more higher search results, more comments, more card updates, kind of really everything across the board. I think this is really helping us increase our knowledge maturity at the company. And our product teams just don't have to be manually answering these questions because the AI agent is helping us. And, those times where there may be an incorrect answer, or there may be an answer that's kind of outside of the scope of the question, it's helping us because we're kind of gamifying the system with the thumbs up and down. And that helps us in the documentation lifecycle. We're able to use that information to kind of bolster those cards, make them better, and people are really enjoying interacting with it that way. So yeah, that's our story.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing that. I'm going to I think the increased use of Guru is great. And so for anybody that's like struggling with like Guru adoption or looking to roll out soon, like really consider setting up these knowledge agents here to increase the value that people get out of Guru immediately, and start instilling more trust in Guru as a single source of truth. And your experts are going to thank you too, because it's going to produce give them back more time and be less of a drain on them too. So really great story, David. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you can stick around, that'd be great. We'll do questions at the end for everybody here. So I'm going to move on to our next story with Olivia from Empathy. So thanks again, David, and hello, Olivia. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Nice to be here. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about how we're using knowledge agents.
Absolutely. Excited to hear about it. Tell us a little bit about you first, though.
So I'm a senior research associate here at Empathy. I've been in this role for almost 2 years, and I'm based out of our New York City office. We've been using we've been using Guru almost as long as I've been here. And it's been amazing for automating some of that research that we're doing for users. So to give a little bit of context, at Empathy, we work with users to address practical and logistical needs after they've experienced the loss of a loved one. So primarily we use Guru to store our app and web content that can help to address more complex questions that might come in from those users. And it's been amazing. It's totally served that purpose. And as we've expanded, the knowledge agents have been really helpful in helping that scalability. Yeah. And then I missed this part about myself, but I do love to hike, travel, run, and paint.
That's great. And being up in the New York area, I guess you're getting out to the Catskills a lot to do that.
Yeah, primarily I like to hike when I'm like, well, I guess I combine my hobbies there. Whenever I travel, I like to hike.
Nice.
I don't know that I take advantage of the Catskills as much as I could be, but maybe this summer.
That's all right. Those are unexpectedly tough mountains, so
Yes,
don't worry
yes,
about
they are.
it. Well, awesome. Yeah, love to hear about how you all are using Guru to support your kind of amazing business that helps people out in the times that they're in most need. With the recent expansion to Canada, tell us a little bit about how that market expansion shifted your use of Guru and created this need for a knowledge agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few months ago, we expanded our offering to a Canadian market, where bureaucratic processes related to estate administration differ significantly from the US. And we really wanted to ensure that this new content that we were building out did not interfere with our US content, and vice versa. So we created custom pages and designated knowledge agents for each market. And we now direct our care team to the relevant page and that linked knowledge agent when searching on behalf of a user. That way, they're not going into the general Guru bot and searching, how does this work in Canada? And then, potentially getting some misinformation there. And also just like the having them separate really helped with buy-in. It made our support staff like much more able to see the value in Guru and more able to, I think, feel trusting of the answers that they were getting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So your team had access to both US, Canada, and or to both US information and Canada information. And so the general Guru search that's going to look across the processes for both of those might produce suggested answers that are maybe mixing or confusing the two processes from the US and the Canada markets. And so sort of bifurcating the search a little bit to have a US specific one and a Canadian specific one that's just going to give suggested answers for those processes and those information based on those individual markets is a really perfect great use case there for knowledge agents. So I'd love to see it in action if we can. If you want to maybe show a question or two, and I know you've got them hooked up to pages as well, so would love to see that if you're able.
yes. Can you now see my screen?
Yep, there we go. You can see
Okay,
it now.
cool. Um, Yeah, so this is our Canada page. What's really cool also, and I know this is a knowledge agent showcase, not a pages showcase, but I do think they're really like they work very well together. So we've loved being able to link those knowledge agents to their respective pages. And also we got to sort of like mess around with the page and do like use our empathy branding. So that was really cool. And it really makes that it's so that these pages and then the knowledge agents work very seamlessly as part of that support staff's workflow. Yeah, so as an example, if a user wants to know about probate fees in Ontario, for example, our support team can then navigate to the Canada page, as you can see, like on the left here where I already am,
Mhm.
and then ask the Canada bot. So you might ask, does Ontario impose probate fees?
And this is great and appreciate you showing the pages too so that people can see like how you can actually pin those pages to the or pin those agents to those specific pages, making it easy for people to access the right information.
Mhm.
Sorry, we've got the suggested answer now. Go ahead.
Yes. So yeah, now you see the suggested answer. Yes, Ontario imposes probate fees based on the value of the estate, and then gives you a little bit of information about what you might need to know. Yeah, and to as a spoiler, this is the correct answer. Um,
Great.
so yeah,
Yeah,
that's been great.
And I love that you have and you go we can see over there on the right hand side like your collection filters are only Canadian collections, so that's kind of showing that this agent only has access to the Canada information. And I love that you put the Canadian flag in front of all the card titles as well. That was a smart choice.
Yeah. So to that point, I think this really works well because of the way that we've set up the prompting and the sources. So I can head into our back end here,
Yeah.
um, and look closer at the knowledge agents. Um, But yeah, so as you can see, we have like our Canada bot and our US bot here. And we have it set up so that our any Canada specific content is linked only to the Canada bot, as you might expect, and US specific content is linked only to the US bot. So you can see in our sources, we have like 3 different collections that are related to like, probate processes and like other logistical concerns for users. And then anything related to like our internal knowledge for Canada, like the company launch and policy and stuff like that. And then, the same goes for the US. We have research, library, more libraries. Um, and we have the prompting set up so that um, you have like some of the standard guru prompting that's been designed. And then also we got really specific and wanted to sort of direct the knowledge agent to be extra sensitive to province specific and state specific information. It was one of the things that we were worried about most when we were transferring information over into Guru in the first place.
Mm.
And then when expanding to Canada, just concerned that the agent might generalize any province-specific information to the broader country. So we just made sure to point that out, and that's worked really well. As you can see, we said like pay careful attention to any subtle differences between provinces, and then called out each of the provinces. In Canada, this was much easier because there are not 50 of them. In the US, we just gave an example. But yeah, you can see here we like did the same thing somewhere around here. Yeah, example states. So California, Texas, New York, Florida. Um, but yeah, so uh, we just also tell it to avoid generalizing any information to either the US or Canada. And that's worked brilliantly so far. So yeah, that's been awesome.
That's great to hear. I love that you were able to get great results, telling it to, pay careful attention to the subtle differences between those provinces and states. I know with your business and stuff like that, those differences are crucial, right? Like it's going to mean the difference between, having one benefit or not having it, or how you might be able to help your customers there. So really, really cool use case for this. Love seeing them pinned to the pages, like I said, and would love to hear a little bit more about the outcomes, which we'll see here in a sec once this works. Here we go. Cool. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how this has worked out for you.
Yeah, so I think this actually coincided, like the timing worked really well with our launch. Knowledge Agents came out just before we expanded to Canada. So it meant that we were able to migrate all of this internal content that we had into Guru before our team actually had to start searching in it. It also had like there was a little flexibility in terms of like we had some time to test it out and had them get comfortable with it before we ended up sharing that information with our end users. So I think this was really, really good for improving our support staff's kind of buy-in and trust with Guru. And that's essential because we need them to feel like totally confident in the answers that they're getting. And then we need the users to feel confident in the answers that they're receiving in the end. So I think this has been great. And again, like improving the trust in Guru and that buy-in has been huge for us. It means that we've been able to outsource so many more of these questions, whereas previously they'd come to me or to someone else that was able to answer any like research requests. So that's been awesome. I think the searchability also has really improved. We very rarely now get a question where no direct answer is yield. Um, and that's really great as well. It means that people are able to search very quickly, and if they're on the phone with a user, without having to go in and like sort through Canada specific information or US information and find what they're looking for. They can go directly to that knowledge agent and ask and have an answer ready for a user live. So that's really awesome. And then I think also reducing the amount of irrelevant information that's cited. This has been a huge benefit as well of the knowledge agents. We were really worried, again, like I said, about province-specific or state-specific information getting confused. And as we expand, like even beyond Canada, I think this is going to be really helpful for, again, like sort of structuring that information so that we're making sure that none of it is getting sort of like clouded or there's no interference with information that's irrelevant or might not apply in that specific situation. Yeah, I think this is our first sort of iteration of this. We just have the 2 right now. But I think we're going to keep going because it's really been awesome to be able to separate that out. And also just like it flows very easily for our users in Guru, just directed right to those pages.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a really good call out too is like now you've kind of done it with 2 of your regions now, and as the business expands, you've established a process that's gonna be repeatable and scalable for that expansion. So you can do that as you extend into other geographies. So that's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia, so much for sharing your story. Stick around to the end if you can, when we'll open it up for questions. But we're gonna press forward here with a motion story, and I'm gonna welcome Kyra to the stage. Kyra, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about you and motion, and let's get to know you a little better.
Yes, all the things. So I'm the head of customer success at Motion. We are a fast scaling startup though. So we went from about 10 people to now we are right around 70 and growing quickly over the last couple of years as I've been working with the company. I'm down in Texas, but we are a fully remote company. So we have people all over the place. And as the team has grown, that has only expanded. So working in the remote first world, Guru has become very helpful. We're actually newer to Guru though. We've only been with Guru for a couple of months now. So you'll get to see the scrappier side and the newer Guru side for anybody that's in the audience that doesn't have the beautiful build outs that I am now very jealous of that Olivia and David have curated. But it's been really cool to get the tool in. On the personal side, I am definitely a workaholic. That is why I work at a startup. So my fun stuff is I think it's been really fun to learn about everything AI, lots of rabbit holes to go down. It's changing quickly. And then coffee to keep the caffeine going so we can do more work and research, basically. How fun, right?
Yeah, I love it. That's great. What's your go-to coffee spot right now?
Well, right now it's a local place called Local Habit. And it's just like this old renovated historic house that they made. So it feels really cozy. So you're like in public, but you still get to be comfortable. So it works.
Fun. That's great. I love it. I love a good coffee spot. But yeah, excited to see your quote unquote scrappier side of Guru. But yeah, I think it's really helpful for people to see someone who's fresh into Guru. So thanks so much for joining and sharing this story here. So talk to us a little bit more about how you're using Guru and sort of what led you to create a knowledge agent and how you heard about knowledge agent, what made you think it would work for you.
Yeah, so we stumbled upon knowledge agents when we were just like playing around with settings and trying to learn all the things with Guru. We were super intimidated by having to set up a million cards when we got into Guru. So we were like, we're just gonna like link a bunch of sources and see what happens. That did not give us the best results in the master search when we just like had a bunch of information coming in. So we're like, okay, like let's see what else we can do. We then found the knowledge agent section where we could like really pare it down. And so what we've basically been able to do is figure out what are the high priority sources that we would want to tap into for different areas of the business and link those up. And the reason this has been so helpful is just because as the company has scaled, those people that were in like the first 20 of the company just have so much extra context that the rest of the company doesn't. And so it was just like everybody was getting a million DMs and all of like the more senior or more knowledgeable team members like they were not having time spent on other things because they were just answering questions for the rest of the company. So we're like, okay, we gotta fix this. We gotta get them some time back so they can like actually work on projects and everyone else can like know what's going on with the app.
Yeah, similar challenge to, it sounds like, what David was facing with just like your experts, and like it's exacerbated even more in your case where you are like a startup, smaller staff, so like, you know, every person, you know, counts so much more, and if their time is being, you know, held up answering these kind of repeat questions, it can really, you know, hamstring your business, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that's cool here too is like it like we have those people that don't know the knowledge and like we don't have the knowledge base built, so like we're kind of in the process of like trying to build that. And so what's been really neat with this is we've actually used agents as our way to help us build the knowledge base versus looking at our guru knowledge base. So for anybody that doesn't have a knowledge base and all of the cards and the structure, there's actually really cool ways that you can set it up to get that built over time, and just have it like linked to your sources in the meantime is how we've approached it so far.
Yeah. Are you able to share screen, show us a little bit of that, or do you just want to talk through that aspect of it, that how it's helping you expand your knowledge base?
I can definitely share. So
Okay, cool.
let's do this. We'll look at Slack and I can show you guys this. So we are a Slack heavy company. So everything we do typically lives in Slack. So you'll see a couple of different channels. So this is our main support help channel.
Kara, just one second. I think we're working on getting your shared screen displayed there.
Cool.
There we go. Okay, go for it.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
So this is our support help channel. So this is where people can go in and drop questions. So I did a couple test ones here this morning that we can take a look at. Basically, like if you have a question from a customer, if you're a salesperson, a CSM, or like on our support front lines, you can jump in here. And we're really talking about ad syncing. What I think is really nice is because we have this hooked up to Linear, which is all of our dev tickets. We actually have an issue with ad syncing right now. And so it's cool that we can actually pick up on real-time information with the Guru agents. And it's like, cool, like in general, it can take anywhere from a few hours to 24. But we're seeing that like we have seen some that actually have taken more than 24. And here's the ticket that's linked to that. So for a company that like things are always shifting, breaking, changing as we're growing and like shipping product fast, this is incredible so that we can see what's going on. And then you can click into any of those tickets or things that are linked to actually figure out what's going on in different places.
That's awesome. Love seeing that real time sort of ability for it to pull in your ticket information and let people know around like what, you know, actual current issues are out there and current problems that are being reported. That's really cool.
And then for more like for things that will not change a lot, that would be something like this, where it's just like something about our app of like access and permissions. They can come in, so we can see here that we have some different citations of where things have been linked. We actually have a card for this. That's great. That's what we want, is like, it's nice to have all of that like verified information from Guru. If it's an instance though, where say this didn't have anything tied to it, what we do in that case is you'll see even on some of these, people will jump in and like have conversations. So people will be like, hey, like that's not right, or like whatever, and they'll go off. So when we have that happen, what we've done is we've actually set up a secondary channel that is Guru card ideas. And so we just forward the messages in as there are card ideas that come up. So anywhere that like information is popping up, or if Guru gets it wrong or doesn't have an answer, it comes into this channel. And then we've actually hooked that up to a Zap. So if a message hits here, it takes the context from the message, and then we'll actually create a card and put it into Guru so that that is like in line to be verified by the team. So we're hoping that it'll just kind of like keep creating and growing itself without us having someone that's like dedicated full time to like writing and doing a lot of the Guru card work.
That's so cool. You're calling yourself scrappy, and you've got all these like automations built up and set up to close knowledge gaps and correct incorrect answers. That's really cool, really creative, and hopefully people get inspired to do something similar to help keep their you know, knowledge up to date and close those knowledge gaps where they are.
Thanks.
Really, really
Yeah,
fun.
it's been fun. The other thing is, I think what's helpful about having it create the knowledge base is that because Guru, you guys integrate with so many platforms, we've been able to kind of connect you back to our intercom. And so we're starting to play with like their AI support bot, Finn. And it's been incredible to see the difference of like how well Finn can answer questions when we have like the Guru information coming in. And so it's nice that like as this builds, it's like we're seeing it unlock more and more areas across the business. And I've just been very happy because every time I feel like we need an integration, I go and search and you're like, yep, integration exists. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness.
That's amazing. Love hearing that and seeing that it's helping to hook into these other integrations, hook up to these other places, and deliver quality answers elsewhere as well. In terms of the prompting, just really quick, did you have to do any sort of major tailoring to the prompting? You don't have to share anything if you just want to talk through if you had to do much tailoring to the prompt.
Yeah, so we basically on the prompt, a lot of it was like how it was outputting, kind of the tone and style it was using. Some of our bigger unlocks were like telling it to make it to where it was like easy to copy and paste was like a term that ended up working really well for us of like getting it to think about structuring the information in the right way. So we did that. And then we've been trying to play a lot with like tone and get that reined in a little bit more. So we've actually been playing with some of like Claude, I think is the best from a tone perspective. So we'll like give it different examples of like our support team and how they talk. And like, we're like, hey, okay, like what is the tone of this? And like, we get it to tell us what the tone is versus trying to guess with a bunch of different words. And that's been a really effective way to get it to be like, hey, like, your tone is playful or it's warm or whatever. And I think speaking in the way that the LLMs want to talk has been like an interesting way that we're starting to work with them. But I think it's just like basically what we've learned with prompting is see what happens, see what's wrong with it, and then like make little tiny changes along the way to get it honed into like what you want it to do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's what indeed what we recommend. I love what an AI expert you are already, and like using AI to have it interpret the tone of your conversations, and then you tell Guru's AI to behave it or to give responses in that kind of tone that it has interpreted for you. So that's really, really smart. I love that.
Thanks.
Tell us about some of these outcomes. This first one is particularly amusing to me.
Yes. So I think like when you're at a company that's growing fast, information changes a lot. And so it's funny now because our team is like actually wants to go to Guru first instead of the humans because it's like way more reliable now, which has been very unexpected. And I thought we were going to have like adoption challenges. And now people are like using the like Chrome extension a lot too. So they'll just like do it that way. So it's like not always even in public in the Slack channel, but the Slack channel was kind of our like endpoint of like that's what people were used to doing of talking to us. But it's been cool to see that they're like, no, like Guru actually is like way better than even our teammates because it's just too much information to keep up with.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and getting everyone access to information that they need, reallocate time to higher impact projects. These are all awesome outcomes. Really, really awesome story, Kyra. Appreciate all the innovation and ingenuity you put into the agents themselves and to closing knowledge gaps. I think it's a really, really smart and creative use of Guru. So thanks for showing up, and we may have some questions here for you in a few minutes, but I want to get to Evan from Favor. So Kyra, thank you so much. We'll talk again in a minute here. And last but not least, Evan, how you doing today?
Hello, thanks Matt for having me. Doing well.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about you and Favor and what you're using Guru for.
Yeah, so I'm a fleet support team lead at Favor, and we are a same-day delivery and online food ordering platform. We're headquartered in Austin, Texas, but we have spread out all over to the great state of Texas now. And in 2018, we joined the HEB family grocery. So we are part of them, and we get to do all their deliveries and also have our own delivery platform. So that's been really exciting to get to join them and grow with such a great Texas brand. My team uses Guru for SOP and knowledge management as our main thing, just having that source of truth for different things and try to get away from a lot of the tribal knowledge things. And my hobbies are bicycle riding, playing pinball, and I finally got myself two new kittens there that Matt graciously let me share with y'all. And they are the love of my life right now and everything that I do.
They're adorable, graciously no, happy to share pet pictures all the time. We have several pet channels here at Guru in our Slack where we just share pictures of our pets all day long. So love to see those furry friends there. All right, Pinball Wizard, tell us a little bit about your story here with Knowledge Agents. What sort of led you to creating a Knowledge Agent? What challenges you were facing there?
Yeah, so my specific fleet team is kind of a niche team within our greater support team. So originally we would kind of AI agent would get confused with maybe a lot of different answers from coming from different questions and not knowing exactly what to focus in on for our team. So once we got the ability to kind of make individual agents, it was really exciting for me to be able to kind of hone something in on the specific type of work that we're doing. So we can use the agent to kind of narrow down on that, and also um, getting like having it understand more of like what our part of the business does specifically. When you have a lot of different teams that are going to have different things that they're trying to accomplish, using the prompt to like really help the agent understand like what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish with this team can be really helpful. So that's what I had a lot of fun with, expanding on the prompt.
Yeah, let's check out that prompt if you're able to share there. So we'll switch over to your screen here.
Yes.
And you can just talk us through some of the prompting that you did, which I think is really interesting. And your screen will be shared in three, two, one. I'm just trying to vamp here for time as we figure out the technical back end of things. But it'll be here in a sec. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Cool. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things that I was excited about is just the huge amount of space that we got to work with the prompt. I mean, I have a lot in here and I don't think I've maxed it out yet. And that really, well, I want to put as much as I can in there. If there's space to get information, let's try to get it as specific and honed in as we can. So really started with kind of talking about a role here. And what I really wanted to try to focus on was having the agent feel like a training coach or someone part of the team, maybe not just like a boring AI agent, but a little more friendly tone. And I think that helps also just kind of fit with our general culture, which you'll see a little bit further down in the prompt. And then like really getting specific on like what my specific team is doing so the AI can really understand what we're doing here. And then when I get into the task, like how do I want the agent to do it? How do I want it to answer? What kind of details are we looking for? That's kind of what I'm summarizing through here.
Yeah.
Wanting to make sure that things are always citable. And then, yeah, crafting it as you're a coaching agent trying to support the agent directly. You're offering guidance and support. So really trying to be like a supportive agent there.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then this context here is this giving it context around what favor is, what your fleet team does. Is that kind of what you're putting in here?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like explaining how the business works so that the AI agent can understand like what favor is, what we're trying to do, what our different customer segments are, and how they work together. It's, you know, an AI is probably not going to just understand that right off the bat, but if you kind of explain what your business is and how it's set up, I think that can really help to getting like the good quality answers that you're looking for. And then also in context, I found it really helpful to just kind of put in just little notes here and there to kind of tweak things. Something wasn't coming out quite right the way you want it, you can throw a little note in here to kind of tweak that to get things exactly how you want it. Which is
Yeah.
another thing I'll mention, working on prompts, a big thing that I promote is iterate and refining. Go through these and like do one, see how it works, save a log of everything that you've tried so that if something doesn't quite work out, you can go back to the one that was working better. I had a lot of success with doing that and kind of keeping everything in a spreadsheet. And then you can just keep adding to it. If you don't like something, you take it off and go back.
That's
In
smart.
format and
That's a good idea.
tones where I like it. It's been very helpful. Wanted to get some of our like just mindset, values, company voice, tone, those kind of things in here, which is like, can seem like maybe it wouldn't be that helpful for answering questions, but I think it really just kind of helps make the agent feel like more of a part of our team, just really getting into some of our culture, voice and tone in here.
Yeah.
You can really get creative with how it answers, and you can get really creative. And so, I mean, I definitely like, if you want to try things, you can, tell your agent to talk like a pirate, and just those are the kind of things that you can do. May not be that useful, but just to see how customizable it is, that is something that you can put in there and accomplish, and it will pull that off. So getting like really customizable on how you want your answers to be given, I think is very, very helpful.
That's awesome. I love this. I love all the context that you gave it and how you instructed it about your specific businesses, kind of jargon and vernacular, what certain words mean and what certain acronyms mean. I think that's really helpful. And I love seeing this other end of the spectrum. We saw David's at the beginning, that was like pretty much out of the box, sort of custom prompt, not a lot of customization there. And then yours is like almost top to bottom completely customized there. So there's options there in terms of people who are new to agents. However kind of creative and nuanced you want to get with your prompting is totally up to you, but you can still get value just out of the box with it too.
Yeah, definitely. And as you've heard a lot of other people talk about today, like hooking these things into Slack is where you can get a lot of good engagement. That's what got our teams really, really using it and getting used to using it and getting confident in the answers.
Yeah, that's great. And tell us a little bit more about those outcomes, then we'll open it up for questions here. I know sorry, I didn't leave as much time for questions as I wanted to, but stick around. We'll answer some of those questions. But first, just coach us through these outcomes here, Evan.
Yeah, so I think that after having it hooked into Slack and having our team members start getting like quality answers automatically there, it just really increased their confidence in asking questions. So they're more common to think, hey, I wonder if that's in there. I'll go ahead and ask, even if they think that it's something that maybe wouldn't be in there, they didn't think that it was in there. Also, I've noticed that hooking in Slack channels, you can kind of get the agent to take in different topics and kind of infer an answer that maybe isn't actually documented somewhere. And so those are always going to need review, obviously, to make sure that it's coming up with the right way. But I've definitely found some answers that I was even surprised that it was able to come up with, but it was a very thorough and correct answer. And then the last point I'll put for like faster and accurate answers, once you do ask the agent a question, if you're using the web app, you're going to get those search results underneath it. And if your AI agent isn't perfectly right, you're going to get really good search results. Find that I get better search results under there from kind of a natural language asked question than just maybe a few words from like a search query.
Yeah, that's a great call out too. So not only is the suggested answer getting better, but the quality of the just keyword search results underneath the suggested answer, or even if you just do a keyword search to the knowledge agent, is going to be improved and get you those answers that you're looking for more quickly. Great call out there, Evan. Thanks so much for sharing that story. And let's open it up to questions here. So I think we had a couple questions come in through the Q&A that we want to open it up to everyone here, but Hill, if we can on the back end, bring everyone to the stage. This is great. Now we're all here on camera, ready to answer your questions. Reba and Hill, any questions off the bat that we want to do to start with coming in from the Q&A?
Yeah, there's a couple. Starting right at the top, I guess this is open to anyone. Do you find that team members have to reword questions in order to get an answer? And if so, how do you enable them to ask the questions in the right way?
Great question. Anyone want to respond to that in terms of coaching people on how to actually answer questions the right way and how much rewording needs to be done?
I think that we actually found a lot less of that needed using an AI agent. The agent, it's able to kind of, infer what's being asked in a more accurate way than before. We would definitely run into that. You have to kind of ask the question in the correct way to get the search results right. But once you've kind of refined your agent for how you want to answer, it's going to be much better at taking a not so perfectly asked question, but still finding the really good answer for it.
Yeah, I can jump in there too. I find in our use case, where we had mapped collections to specific Slack channels, the questions can be more open. They don't have to be precise, to kind of get that response. I do coach people who search just the standard, the Guru search bar, where sometimes they will not explicitly put in like the product name, or there's not a very specific word. We have tons of different products at Leap. So there's some coaching there, but generally in Slack where it's mapped, it works really well, even if the question's not great. But that's also where you can build the knowledge agent into the Slack or the Guru search. So that's another great example of how the knowledge agent is extendable.
Thank you for those responses. All right, we are officially 1 minute over time. If any of our guests have to go, I'll relinquish you from your duties, and thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time here today. But if you're able to hang on for a couple more minutes, we'll just wrap up a couple more questions here. And if to all of our attendees, thank you all so much for coming. If you have more questions or want to hear answers to a couple more questions, stick around here, and we'll take just a couple more. Reba, another good question come in from the Q&A that we should handle?
Sure. In terms of, again, open to anybody, when you come across a response, maybe looking at the AI Training Center, and it's just maybe the question's not relevant and it's not worth spinning up a card, or it's not worth creating any documentation, what do? Do you reach out to the user directly? How do you communicate the answer if it's not worth putting in your knowledge base or connecting a source?
Good question. So what do you do if the question's not good? If it's a bad question, just not super relevant, you don't one-on-one coaching, or anybody have any experience with that they maybe want to share?
I can take a stab.
Okay.
I think like sometimes what's nice is like it doesn't hurt anything. So we may just not do anything with it, to be honest. If it's like a bad question that doesn't serve, just because it gets put to the agent doesn't mean that it has to live forever and go into different places. So I think just like be, flexible, and it just is what it is. But I think maybe there are things of like what we talked about earlier that everyone was just talking about, of like ways to get people to ask questions better. And like you're saying, Matt, like one-to-one coaching, you can do that. But I feel like we haven't run into that a lot, to be honest. And like the agents are pretty good at giving you answers.
That's great. Awesome. Reba, another question?
The last question we have was specifically for Kyra, not to put you back in the hot seat. You may have covered this. This isn't a question from earlier on, but can you expand on how you're using agents to build out your knowledge base?
Totally. So we ended up setting this up as a Zap and Zapier. So basically it triggers when a new message goes into a Slack channel, and then it takes that message, and we use like the open AI node as the next one. And then we have like a prompt in there that gives us instructions to like take the context from the Slack message that came in and rewrite it into a card. And then basically that output from the AI node then goes over into a Guru node that's create a card. And then it puts the card into there. And then we basically have it in Guru, and then we just stay really close on verification to make sure that the AI doesn't do anything crazy. So we've been using that kind of as our like human in the loop step to make sure we don't just have wild things living in our knowledge base that AI has decided to create for us.
That's great, Kyra. Thanks for recapping that. Anybody else want to shed any light on how they're closing knowledge gaps using Guru or other automations or anything like that? No pressure. Okay. Just figured out to ask while we had y'all here. All right. Well, I have two really quick polls for everybody to kind of see us out. Thank you so much for our guests for being here. We just sent out a poll. Let us know how helpful this session was for you, how likely you are to recommend this going forward. Appreciate y'all hanging in here as we kind of went over time here, but hopefully you found a lot of value out of this session. I know I learned so much from how from each of these folks here for how agents can be helpful for tons of different use cases and producing these awesome efficiency based outcomes. So thank you all for that. And the last poll we'll send out is just a key takeaway. I love hearing just sort of what you got out of this. bonus points if you remember my unrelated fun fact from the beginning, and that's your big takeaway. But no, I genuinely want to hear kind of what the big just what your big takeaways were, what you actually got out of this. So fill that out real quick if you can, and then I'm just going to plug really quick our workshop next week. If you were really into knowledge agents and you got inspired here and you want to dig in even more, next week's session, the Thursday, same time, is going to be all about creating knowledge agents, and we're going to get really into the weeds on building them and all the best practices that come with knowledge agents. So if you want to hear even more about knowledge agents, check that session out. If you have more questions, come then, or come to our monthly release roundup and office hours the last Thursday of the month. Thank you so much, Olivia, David, Evan, Kyra. Really appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to share your stories here. Super helpful, super valuable for everyone. Thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you all for attending. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Bye-bye.